So I will call to order the March 10th meeting of the Village Council. If you will rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing and pray with me. Lord God, even on a cold, rainy Monday, we just pause to thank you for all the blessings you bring us every day, Lord. Thank you for this community. Thank you for this nation. Thank you for our families and for our safety. We pray, Lord, that in all the discussions we have tonight, we do it in a way that would honor you. Amen.
Amen.
We are hoping this can be a fairly quick and pain-free meeting. So, are there public comments? Okay. All right, Jim, if you'll approach the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Nothing but good things to say. No. For the record, Jim Hill. I live at 2314 Wesley Landing Road in Wesley Chapel. So two things I wanted to just quickly talk about. One is regarding Cuthbertson Road, and you may already know this, but I'll just share what I know. A few months ago, I had connected with Crystal Long. She's the Charlotte area president for Weekly Homes. And she connected me with Shannon Balling, so he's the vice president of land development. And she said, he's the guy, he's in charge of the project. So I talked to him about it once a month. So I talked with him last week. He said that, Shannon, he said that NCDOT had approved the design. So if you remember, they changed the design to move the turn lane to the other side of the road where it would be less invasive. So he said, NCDOT has approved the design now. They're working on getting all the county permits, and I guess they have to get a construction easement from the adjoining property owner to do whatever they do during construction. So he said that's ongoing or underway. He didn't give me a start date, but he did say once they start, he thought the project would take about 30 days. And he said they are planning to go ahead with it, even though the state's going to require them to work at night because they can't close the road during the day while school's in session. So anyway, seems to be making progress, although it's kind of like watching a glacier melt. It's not very fast, but it does move. And then the other thing, I just want to thank you all for the voting to provide. I wasn't at the last meeting in February, but I know you voted to provide funding for the Meals on Wheels program, which I think is great. I volunteer with the Council on Aging in Union County, so I've seen and I know the benefit of that particular program. It's disappointing that the county would not fund it, but I'm glad that the municipalities would step up and fund it. And I also wanted to just support Councilmember Boyce's idea for a benevolence fund, something you might look at next fiscal year's budget. The town where I used to live had they call it a social services grant program where not-for-profits in the town could apply for various services, and the town would vet them via a grants committee. I was part of the grants committee, so I saw a lot of those. Probably the two most important things, as you probably know, for seniors, one is nutrition, which the Meals on Wheels kind of addresses, but also you might want to consider if you're going to do a benevolence fund is food pantry support, because Common Heart does a weekly food pantry at the church on Newtown, and then they also have a mobile food pantry program specifically targeted at people that can't drive to the food pantry. So that would be a good one to look at. And then the most popular thing among seniors is the ones that can't drive or don't drive is transportation, to and from shopping, medical appointments, and pharmacy visits. And I know that Union County has a transportation program, but I don't know how well it works or how accessible it is to Wesley Chapel residents, because I don't know, it's one of those big vans, and I don't know how many of them the county has and how spread out they are. So that might be something to look at as well. As I mentioned, the town where I used to live, the most popular program they had was a transportation voucher program where seniors could apply for basically a voucher that would subsidize the cost of either a ride share or a taxi to a medical appointment once a week or to a grocery store once a week, something like that. And that was actually the most popular of all the sort of social services programs. So something to think about for next year's budget.
Real quick follow-up on the contact you have with the developer. Do you know if they've started phase 3 of their?
When I talked to her, they were only about a third. She said they were about a third sold. So I think they're a long way. If you phase 3 is that way back in the back, and they're a long way from that.
The stipulation was supposed to be before they could have building permits for phase 3. The county was not going to let them get certificates of occupancy. And I wanted to remind them of that if you had any more contact with them.
Yeah, well, but like I said, that glacier is moving even slower. I don't, the sales pace seems to have slowed and all.
Well, it was so fast at the beginning, I thought they couldn't build them faster.
I know, but it's slowed. If you walk, I walk there about once a week. It's slowed down a lot. And phase 3 is way back in the back.
But you should have seen their ears perk up when I said, the county's not going to let you have a building permit or occupancy permit.
Yeah, I think that's driving them to try to get it done now. Yeah.
What is the name of this development? I know
it's called Encore at Streamside. Well, there's two. There's one side. There's Encore at Streamside, and the other side is Market Rate Townhomes, which I don't know. What the name of it is, but it was all part of a condition. Yeah, Mike's right. It's all part of. They had a conditional approval that they had to build a turn lane.
And we were originally told it was supposed to be before they got their first certificate of occupancy, and then they changed it to phase 3.
Didn't happen.
Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that update. Last I'd heard that DOT was still reviewing the plan, so I'm glad they've been approved and that all.
Well, they're still reviewing our. Just so you know, they're still reviewing our roads too. Our roads haven't accepted our roads yet either. So it's like watching paint dry. They don't move very fast, but they do move.
Yeah, that's why I'm still holding our breath on Potter and Potter
right.
too. But any more public comments before we move on? All right. Okay. Last but not least. That brings us to additions, deletions, and adoption agenda. I do need to add I'm going to add 13B. I need to add a closed session for attorney-client privilege regarding a stormwater easement or an easement with Aston Properties. Any other additions, deletions, or issues with tonight's agenda?
Yeah, so I'd like to move 4B out of the consent agenda and move it to the mayor's report. Nothing major. I've just got one real quick question on it.
Mayor's report.
We'll make it E.
Or G.
I'm sorry. Right? We are alphabetizing this week. Resolution. Well, it's going to be G. Okay. Anything else?
Make a motion we approve of those changes.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous. So that brings us to the consent agenda with just the item for the approving the February 10th regular council meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
I didn't read them, so I was like, I can't make a motion. I didn't read them yet.
Okay.
I was supposed to read them.
And for the finance officer report, Kathy is on vacation. We are in the final stages of getting Black Mountain's fund accounting software up and running. She's been going through like 30 hours of training. They have to vet the data that's converted. The report shows differently now. All of our little items roll up into that big budget category. And she has invited any of us to go to her office to ask for questions. And she said at the next meeting she will present the profit and loss because it's going to be in a new format. and she will have everything and be here at the next meeting to answer any questions or in her office by arrangement.
One follow-up question. Amy, are you being trained in this new software as well?
No, I do not handle anything with financials. I don't have access to it or anything. All the access goes from one person.
I'm not familiar with the software, and this format change is going to be, it takes some getting used to.
But Kathy said we'll like it once we get it, that it's a little more user, like.
As long as
better
it follows
QuickBooks.
generally accepted accounting principles, I'm good with it, but I haven't seen the format yet. I was concerned about that.
Yeah.
I'm concerned she couldn't give us a P&L because they're a pretty standard format, and as is a balance sheet, it's a pretty standard format that she put together.
That's exactly where I was going.
And that report that she gave us, I know she's been saying this for many months, just kind of like, you only budget to the top level, that's really all you need to care about. She needs to understand, no, we care about the lines underneath that, very much so, and we want to see that detail. That report like she gave us will not be sufficient.
Right, because nickels add up to dimes.
Exactly.
Dimes
And
add up to dollars.
we watch those numbers of where we move it. I know she's moving a lot of funds around as she sees a need. But us just watching the top line and her summary report, I just don't think it's going to cut it for this particular group of council people.
Right. So we might want to make sure we get with
Or
her
more detail.
before the next meeting, so she presents, let her show you what is available, and
She
we
can
can
send
hear
us a
it out
draft, and
exactly.
then we'll know if we have questions.
what we do.
I don't think it's effective for all of us to go tracing through our office. She's got to have training. She can send us the drafts, and if we don't understand them, we can ask.
I'll have her send drafts when she returns.
But and then in preparation for the budget, I think it rolls right into that is being able to understand those subline items. And I'd like to know where all the money's come and gone. Like here was originally what we budgeted effective July 1, and where did money come from and go? Because I feel like over time, when you're just looking at where it's at now, because we made amendments, you'll kind of lose track of how far from the original we got. And I think there's lessons to be learned from that as we set, the budgets each year.
So that being said, we need to make sure committees and staff are ready to probably start working on their budget to get it to Kathy in April, so we can have it ready for a May budget meeting. So in April, please bring your calendars so we can pick the date for the budget meeting.
We're going to try to do that in a single meeting, because we've had a couple of years where we've had to push it into two separate meetings.
I think we try to start with one and knock it
I
out.
think we only did one last year.
Yeah,
We do.
I think last
it's been a lot easier with council in the last few years, but there have been a couple of years where we've been here till midnight and go, we're going to have to postpone this and set another meeting.
So if the committees and staff can be prepared to get theirs in April, so we can have our May budget meeting. Code enforcement, all complaints have been addressed or in the process of being addressed with letters. There has been some cleanup on that last property. I can't remember the name of it off my head. What was that last property?
On Pilgrim Forest.
In Pilgrim Forest, yeah. There has been some cleanup there.
Yes, I drove by it about 2 weeks ago. It comes and goes, but I think then Kathy said she drove by and there's a big difference.
Is that the one that was reported at the council meeting this time last month?
Yes, 2 big rigs. Said they are very compliant with wanting to get it done. And it's been ongoing for like a year or so, but I think we've finally been able to get to the right person. I think they rent the house.
Good.
Cottonwood, the same homes look bad again. But there's, I guess they're probably Kathy's, these 2 report.
Well, we gotta have a complaint, right? Somebody's gotta complain about it.
Yeah, I was just checking up. I have not received any complaints.
Okay.
One clarification on that. If someone complains about a property and it gets cleaned up, do they have to complain about it a second time for it to be looked at again? Or is it an ongoing issue that's going to be monitored?
I think that would be a council directive, because we've never actually had one cleaned up like that one before.
Well,
I think she put in the letter that if they fell back within so many days, they go back to the
I would
file.
think we wouldn't have to wait on a complaint a second complaint, especially if it's a habitual problem. I think it should be something that, for the next, they're on a probationary period for 12 months or something like that until.
So how often would council like the property reassessed?
I just don't think we need to generate action only if we get a follow-up complaint in a period of.
Well, maybe just the ones that we get complaints on, like in 6 months.
No, I'm speaking specifically of habitual problems.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think you can't say that's habitual and that's not. I think kind of to Deb's point is we did a complaint, we did a resolution,
Mm-hmm.
and then if we say 6 months, we'll be back. I don't know, it's deteriorating, process starts over, or something to that effect, but it needs to be documented as procedure.
Yeah, after we
policy.
everything's approved and they've done what they needed to do and everything, then we can in 6 months just ride by and see if they're back to where they used to be.
And I think it should be a formal procedure and policy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
you're
we're
like,
consistent and people can't argue that we're treating people differently.
so you like a 6-month check
Yeah.
to be written into the policy?
Without necessarily a follow-up complaint.
Okay. Okay. I invite everybody to attend the Western Union Municipal Alliance meeting in March. It will be at 7 p.m. at the Marvin Town Hall. County Manager Brian Matthews is going to come. There should be some interesting conversation about the status of water and sewer. I'm sure there will be some questions about the property revaluation.
Will there be anybody there from the county?
Brian Matthews. I don't know if his bosses will be there, the commissioners.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Any of the commissioners?
That I don't know. I know he has been invited to speak on behalf of the county. I don't know who will attend with him. But that should be an interesting meeting.
Would Wilma be in favor? I don't know if you have time between now and that meeting to formally request at least some level of county commissioner be there. Doesn't have to be all, obviously, but
I don't know what they have asked for, so typically he is accompanied by at least one, but I don't know. For the Union County 2025 Community Health Assessment, I asked Amy to send that out. So if you see it on Facebook or coming out on the Sunshine List, please take the survey and send it to your neighbors and ask them to take it. I used to work in the health department. That is a very important survey for the health and wellness of your community. So please take that. The Meals on Wheels program, Joel did report out at the women meeting that I think we had a few more people on the waiting list, but apparently there's a very strict list to actually get service. So when they went back and reviewed, Wesley Chapel only had a few people who actually qualified, whether that meant that they had passed away or no longer needed the supplemental help. But the county was supposed to have the interlocal agreement ready last week, and I've yet to see it, so hopefully it will come through this week. And then we're just going to anxiously, I did present it to WUMA so they could think about the possibility of their municipality stepping forward, especially Waxhaw, which has quite a few on its waiting list. So we'll be anxiously awaiting to see what the county does do with that at their budget meeting. Volunteer dinner. You'll get an email in about 2 weeks with a reminder and your RSVP and meal choice. We have agreed to let Novant Health use the Village Hall parking lot. Every day when I drive by now, I'm like, oh my gosh,
I know. Who's meeting?
So you'll see a lot of cars out here, but then they've also graciously agreed to let us use their parking lot for the spring event and the car show. And so being good neighbors and all. So if you see a lot of people here, it's Novant. They are supposed to, they're normally gone by like 5, so it should not interfere with any meetings. John is here, so I can invite him up and we can talk a little bit about the audiovisual system. And then David wanted to talk about the resolution to adopt the Cabarrus Stanley Union Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. That is what we have to have in place for our high hazard dam at Dogwood Park. And it has to be updated periodically.
Okay. And my only question was, Amy has been designated as the representative for the village. I'm assuming Amy has whatever time that would entail.
You would have, I don't think Amy knew she was designated.
Did you know you were designated, Amy?
I attended the meeting
Oh.
last minute one time, and I didn't. I knew I was receiving emails then, but
How often do they meet? Do y'all know how often these people?
It's not often. Our bit is very small. Usually they send our portion and ask for us to proofread it and reply back yes or no, if it's okay. And it hasn't changed since we drafted it the first time for the dam. It might change after dam construction a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But
Any of
until then, it's
Well,
should be the
I'm
same.
I'm really interested in hazardous situations and preparatory plans and things like that. So if you need anybody to attend these meetings, I would be interested in doing it.
Okay, that's awesome.
So if Amy doesn't want to.
So, Amy, are you okay being the?
oh, yes, for sure.
I don't think it'll be too terrible much work.
It's, yeah, I think it's pretty much done with our part now anyway.
Yeah,
So-
once we adopt the resolution, yeah.
And I'm more interested in specifics and stuff, what's going on.
So do I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
Yep, so motioned.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? And then John, you want to come up and we'll talk about the audiovisual real quick?
Sure. We had one quote come in. We already had 3 quotes, as you know. Had one of the companies come back in. They took another look with a bit more clearly defined requirement. We got a number from them, just shy of 28 grand. I then met with another company that somebody had recommended. I have not yet received their quote, so I'm guessing within the next week or so you're going to have 5 proposals to choose from. The one for 28, I really like the people. I think they're very professional.
What was their name?
That was XLR Media Works. And then the last one I had in last Friday, they were extremely thorough. I mean, measuring, they wanted to get up in the ceiling. I mean, they did Matthews Town Hall. But just from a feel, I think the price is going to be really high. I haven't seen it yet. Just a feel I get from a much bigger company that do bigger jobs.
Does this address audio and visual?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll have like a monitor or a tablet?
So you're all going to get a monitor, you're all going to get a microphone. We'll have a new laser projector so it's not so dim when we have light condition, it'll be brighter. There'll be webcasting and recording capability. So you'll be able to live stream council meetings with the ability to record them. They asked if I wanted recorded in the cloud or recording hard. I said, I think we really need to have some kind of disk to keep the record rather than it being on the cloud and paying a service. So that's what they're quoting on. So total of a mic for each of you, 2 mics on that table, 1 mic here that can come to this podium.
Will that one be cordless?
No.
Okay.
We could have done it, but it's much more expensive. And I suggested maybe they put a little XLR connector in the side here so you can connect and disconnect the microphone if you want to. I told them we want to be able to move this around.
Not put a long cord on it.
How much more expensive are they talking? I mean,
For
I don't know,
cordless?
a wireless mic is probably an extra $1,000.
We had one at one point and it disappeared.
imagine.
Yeah.
Is that word out?
No, we've got a set of wireless mics.
No, for the system that was originally here,
Yeah.
we had one wireless mic for the podium and it disappeared.
I remember a wired one because where Mike sits, there's 2 wires, one for that microphone, one for this microphone. So that's where we are. I'm expecting by next month we'll have a total of 5 quotes, and I'll make a recommendation as to which one I think you guys should go with.
John, are they all bidding from a defined specification list, or is it a design build approach?
Design and build approach based on a common set of needs. Because before it was just like left in the open, and we got vastly different proposals. So this time was very, not down to the manufacture of the equipment, but I need mics here, here. We need to be able to do this. I need a bright projector. We're going to go with the existing screen. We're going to go with the existing rack because that amplifier seemed to have been working fine. And then on the podcasting, I said we just need to be able to see the whole deal, see staff here, see the person here, and see what's on the screen behind. For the monitors, I just asked to be low profile so you guys can see open.
And one more thing to confirm, when I see something on the monitor in front of me, I can also see it up there, because before it was either or, but it was never both.
Correct. Whatever is on that screen is going to be on monitors in front of you, so you don't have to
No,
strain your neck.
So it's an actual monitor and not a
Correct.
tablet? Okay.
Correct. And then the projector, we're going to do it Wi-Fi, so that if you have a guest speaker wanting to make a presentation, we don't have to rely on staff to change the slides. They'll be able to just wirelessly connect to the projector.
On that, can we make sure we have the right security, that our IT guy takes a look to make sure that that's on a protected channel and doesn't inadvertently give access to
Right,
them?
well, there was 2 approaches. One was using the Wi-Fi, for which you would have to give somebody access to the...
But he could set up a separate channel for them.
Yeah, what I asked them to do is there's a dongle they can just plug into their laptop or their computer, and there's a dongle in the projector, and it just directly communicates without having to go
So
through
is that more
Wi-Fi.
Bluetooth connection than Wi-Fi connection? Yeah, because I don't want anybody in on the network.
Right.
Doesn't have to be.
Right, and that's what I assumed, and that's what I told him. I'd rather have a direct connection than going through the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and I'd still have to make sure that IT guy signs off on it, since we're kind of holding him accountable.
Where would the
And then
camera?
training will be included. I've asked them to plan a day to teach everybody how to connect to the thing, make presentations, turn the monitors on, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I'd also suggest if they don't provide a written procedure documentation, that we create it, so that when we do have people coming, that it's a document we can say, yes, you'll be expected to do this, read this, or something, just to make it more seamless.
Where would the cameras be?
But since we've already got the infrastructure here, the power and stuff, the projector's going to be right there. The camera will go on the back wall over there. And I've asked them to capture from like here forward. They've done a really fancy one for Matthews where each individual person can be a separate screen. I said we don't need anything that fancy, we just need to capture the whole piece. Rather than a professional quality, newscast.
Well, we want it professional, but we don't need.
Right, we don't need zoomed in on each.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Right, no. One camera, not multiple cameras.
Well, some have it set up so when you start speaking, it zooms in on that one person, but I don't think I want to zoom closer.
I'm
So
sure
that's
like
that.
putting one of the filters on it, so it makes just this look better.
So 2 other small things on the park to get out of the way. One of the survey questions.
John, one question before we go. Council, this is a line item for this year's budget, right? So if John brings back proposals in April, are we going to have enough time to make a decision and then apply the funds for this year?
I told the vendors and spoke to her, it needs to be done and dusted before the end of June. Invoicing and paid by the end of June is what I told them, and said that's all perfectly doable.
But I think to David's point is there are some accounting procedures that can be used where it's in this fiscal year, even if it doesn't get paid for until July. I'm not an accountant, but I know we've done that in the past with a few items that have carried over from one fiscal year to the other.
But if they have that expectation, that should help.
It's all off-the-shelf equipment, so I don't anticipate any problems with delivery of the stuff. And
what
we
days
install
will
it's 2 days.
Do you anticipate holding any retainage on it until we have a 30, 60, 90-day trial period? No.
I didn't think of doing that. I asked about the warranty, they said it's usually a year. And one of them gave me an hourly rate for service after the 1 year, should anything break.
Okay.
So come prepared to make a decision in April.
As soon as I got them all together, as soon as I get the last one in, I'll send it out to all you guys and let you know what the recommendation is going to be so that you can make a decision quickly and we can get them. Right, on the park, one of the things in the survey, somebody said we need more seating at the park. So the money you guys budgeted for us last year for benches and tables, purchased, installed already. So we have 5 new benches around the paved walking trail, kind of evenly spaced. 2 new picnic areas with new picnic tables, and I've just got 1 more picnic table to assemble. So we've kind of addressed that request. Needed more seated? Check, got more seated. The last item I want to talk to you about is, I guess last month when I wasn't here, you gave Kathy the okay to start inquiring as to possible cost of rebuilding the dam in the hope that the $250,000 grant money we already have, that we're in jeopardy of losing, would do it. As a result, the Terra Group came out and gave us an informal quote, because it's not a bid to a specific set of drawings, but so you know the numbers we're dealing with. They came back to me that the dam reconstruction in their estimate is going to be about $835,000. So no, we can't do it for the $250,000, which was the dream. The other thing they looked at was demucking the pond. So one possibility, rather than giving that money back, is to use it for something that FEMA would not cover anyway. So FEMA would not cover the removal of the silt that's accumulated over the past 50 years. They came back, again, informal estimate until it's a formal bid, about $255,000 to completely demuck the pond. It's about 4,000 cubic yards of muck in the pond, so 400 truckloads. It's a lot moving. And Terra's actually found somebody who's willing to take the stuff from us close by. And apparently finding a trucking company that will commit to 4 trucks for a whole month has been kind of tough, but they found one. So I think the key question is, are we going to hear back from FEMA about reconstruction of the dam before we have to return that money? My gut feel is no. So one option for council, if we don't want to give that money back, we can use it to demuck the pond. It's about right now.
Are there any other reviews or permits or anything else we need to do to demucking?
Yes. Talked to Amy Black, who's been working on the design. There are 2 different kinds of permit. The easiest one is if they can get the equipment, the backhoe, to demuck from the bank. However, that's not a possibility for us because we've got so many more mature trees around the pond. It's a different permit when they have to get into the bed of the pond with equipment and start moving. The way we left it with Amy Black was, if council wants to go in that direction, Amy will prepare for us like a simple 1-page bid sheet specification, and then we can ask the Terra Group and others to submit a formal bid. What the Terra Group has suggested is, at the head of the pond, we'd excavate a containment area for the water, because that stream constantly flows. And they don't, once they dry it out, they don't want the mud getting wet again. So they create a containment basin at the head of the pond, run hoses over the dam, and just pump it constantly to keep the low end of the pond dry while they clean it up. And then it's scoop it up, haul it away. I did ask Amy Black if there was any soil testing requirement, because that's been agricultural runoff for 50 years. She says there is no regulatory requirement for a soil analysis. It's usually down to the property owner of the dump site whether they want one or not. They have not asked the Terra Group for any soils analysis.
Is that something you would recommend?
I don't know.
What's the pro and con of doing it?
You find something, you have to mitigate.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if we don't find it, it's still there.
Yeah, but if somebody's willing to take it as it is, then that becomes their problem.
Correct.
I'm not taking a
Correct.
side here. I'm just saying that should they find a toxic substance, whoever's owner of it at some point in time would have to mitigate it.
I mean, most modern herbicides are degradable, and the degradation products, you also, to get an approval these days, you also have to test the toxicity of the degradants to ensure that once your pesticide decomposes, it doesn't decompose into something that's nasty. So anything that's new from since they adopted the Federal Insecticide Rodenticide Act will have been fine. It's just stuff that we were using 50 years ago. Is any of that in the pond? Who knows?
Or whatever was originally in the soil.
Yeah. So, if council also believes we're not going to hear from FEMA by October and we don't want to send that money back, I could then progress with Amy Black to go to the one-page specification and then ask Kathy to formally bid it.
Did Amy say anything about this has to be decided toward the end of their fiscal year, or is this possible that it could carry into October?
What could carry into October?
Not knowing.
No, I suspect we will not know by October, is my guess.
I don't know how they run that organization, where they just keep kicking the can down the road and dangling the carrot in front of you and saying, you're going to get the money? Well, maybe not. And then they just keep moving the deadline. That's insane.
I think the worst thing is if you guys end up giving back that money. Not use it.
You know that's not us.
Use it or lose it.
So, would you want me to work with Amy to move ahead to get a formal demarcating spec written?
So that would be April before we could approve it. Then it would go out to bid to May. June, we have to decide by October whether to give it back. What do you think, Council?
I see no harm going ahead and getting quotes.
Creating a bid or specifications and putting out the bid doesn't hurt anything.
She's been saying that we might not do it though until July.
As long as the understanding is we're just trying to find funding for it, and that brings up the other thing. I sent you an email. Email we received, I think all of council received Friday from the state about the disaster relief, and I didn't know if that was anything that.
No, I read through it. I think it's more targeted at Western Carolina.
Well, it's disaster relief because of the storm. And I think since we had the dam breach the day before the storm.
Well, we're getting that money back.
Yes, I remember paying that. I just didn't know if there was any other nuances with that new legislation that just got passed.
No, I think that's a windfall for council close to $40,000 we're going to get.
No, I meant the new program.
Okay.
So, but yeah, they're both good. But I didn't know if that was worth pursuing.
Yeah, and is there any way we can have them guarantee the bid for more than 30 days? I know that's kind of typical, but I don't know if they understand our timeline for getting it, because otherwise then we have to rebid.
So far we've only had one, the Terra Group, and that was an informal estimate, not a formal bid.
It's getting us in the ballpark. For us thinking we could go forward.
255, that's where you're looking, according to them.
Yeah.
But to take it to the next step, as I said, we're going to need to write a formal bid document using Amy Black's engineering expertise, put it out to bid, and then get formal quotes. We can ask for it to be a long living quote, but you're probably going to have to get it done in the summer.
Yeah. Well, we can, if that's council, do you see harm in moving forward and just seeing?
Is there a cost for Amy to write the spec?
Sorry?
Is there a cost for Amy to write the spec?
Probably a little bit, yeah.
Before we start, we need to seriously ask her when or if they think we're going to hear back from FEMA. They don't know either.
Good luck. I left so many messages for FEMA. There's a FEMA hotline. There's a FEMA email hotline. No, nothing. When you ask them when are we going to get this EHP review done, who's doing it, when are they doing it, because that's where we are now. They've got to do this review before it moves anywhere.
So, council, what's your direction?
Spend a dime to make a dollar?
Can somebody put that in a motion?
I make a motion for us to have Amy Black provide us with a quotation that we can use to solicit for quotes to demuck the pond at Dogwood Park.
Per John's specifications or per Amy's
Amy will
specifications?
write the spec, and then we'll get Kathy to put it out to bid.
So then, any further discussion? All in favor? No?
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, John. All right, that brings us to the Events and Programs Committee.
Good evening, Mayor, Village Council. My name is Erin LaCroix, and I am the new Vice Chair of the Events and Programs Committee. Our meeting in February, I'm sure you know that Mr. Gordon had to resign his position. So we met and had a quorum. Mr. Joel Downs has been elected as chair of the committee, and myself as vice chair. Joel is out of town, so he asked me to fill in. Our next event coming up is May 3rd, the Spring Fling. And thank goodness for the agreement with Novant. We will have additional parking for that over there. We're also working to contact Ashton to see if they are asking, to see if they will let us do any more parking. What else? I found a company in Union County that does like the bouncy houses and stuff called Pop-Up Palooza. I think you guys have worked with them in the past. Boardroom Fun, they're somehow connected. They have an Easter foamer package where it's like a foam pit for the kids, and there's like a bubble machine, and that sounds like a lot of fun. We had talked about doing maybe an Easter egg hunt, but I think, Easter comes a little bit early this year. I think more appropriate, and seeing that one of our survey answers, what activities do you want to see at the park or in the village, one of the answers was mini golf. So I figured I would look into purchasing a mini golf set to set up for the Spring Fling. I think that would be a lot of fun. And we will have a DJ. I am working on graphics. As soon as I am finished with those graphics, and I'll do that in coordination with Amy, I will share with you guys. The site plan is done. I'm not sure if Amy or Joel has shared it with you, but the site plan is done. Do you want me to? You can pass this around. If you have any questions about that, you can ask. And then the Soil and Water Conservation District Wildlife Chapter has agreed to do children's events or children's programs and adult programs for the Village Wesley Chapel. The dates for the children's, and this will be at the park, will be June 7th, June 21st, July 19th, and August 7th or August 2nd at 9 a.m. And then the adult programs will be held at Town Hall, June 11th, June 16th, and those are Wednesdays at like 6:30. And we discussed providing snacks and beverages, waters, whatever back here for them. Also, Joel shared with me, Sandra Bradford had created just an amazing task list for past events. I mean, incredibly detailed. So this is going to be helpful for me and the committee, putting together more of a plan that we can just use time and time again for events instead of just coming up and reinventing the wheel every time. Also, the USC School of Government course on social media for elected officials. The council has requested that we take this. The class is 75 minutes long and will be held on May 7th at 10 a.m. We've been asked to register individually. We don't know if we want to watch it together or separately, but that is in the works. And finally, our next meeting has been moved to a special meeting for March 20th at 6:30 p.m. here at the Village Hall so that our committee members can attend WUMA in Marvin on Thursday of that week. I just want to say thank you for, yes, sir.
One thing, and I think Amy's already aware of this, with the special meeting for Parks and Rec, you can't discuss anything that's not already on the agenda. So
Yes,
make sure that you have everything that Amy to get on the agenda that you might want to discuss that night.
Yes, sir. I absolutely will. And we just want to say thank you for being invited to the volunteer appreciation dinner. I've actually never been to the Buzz, and so I'm interested in seeing. Everybody says it's good food, and I'm looking forward to spending time with everybody. Do you have any questions for me?
Have you guys considered making like or are you doing a list of all these? Because you've got a lot of things coming at you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I do have. So Amy was kind enough to send me a lot of examples that she's had in the past, like event planning checklists that the village has used. And I'm basically sticking to this one. It's my first time, so this has been extremely helpful. I can send this to you if you would like.
I didn't know if it was someplace where we could access it.
Yes, I will make sure that
Are
you
you
have
talking
access.
about the dates?
Of all the events that they're planning that they've confirmed.
Great. Like it says, it was just finalized last month, so we have. We were still tying up some details and
Joel gave
times.
us a piece of paper with them.
Do what?
Joel gave us a piece of paper with them on it last month. I think.
With all these that she's talking about too, the wildlife people and all.
No, he was waiting on that, but the other.
Okay, yeah.
We'll get something a little bit more presentable to be able to send out to the public and everything else.
The reason, and another reason is if something comes up, we don't want to. We don't want to conflict. We don't want to say, oh, well, they've already got something on this date. We can't do it that date. If we don't have that, we won't know that. So that's.
Yes, ma'am. I understand. And I will get that to you as soon as possible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For the spring fling, I think we talked about allowing people to come in here for the restrooms. I don't know about you guys, but I came in from Hickory Tavern into the parking lot because I had to make a U-turn. And it was pretty red today because there was a little rain and a little construction zone over there. And so I don't know if the level of the construction changes our opinion about the bathroom use or not and what might be traipsed through the town village hall.
I think we need to just lock all the doors so they can only go into the bathroom. They can't come in here.
But I don't know if anybody else drove through that way, but it was just a little muddy
There was runoff.
running across the parking lot.
There was definitely runoff.
Maybe we'll see if we can make sure to schedule a cleaner to come after that event.
It's time, it cleans up pretty well. But I don't see people traipsing through the mud and then trying to come in here to.
I don't know, but there's going to be people under 10 here, so yeah.
Yeah, they wander around, that's for sure. But it's going to be fun. The weather is looking like that it should be okay. I don't know. This is a little too far out. But we're thinking about 4 to 7 for the spring fling. The only issue I've run into is Union County said that they may not be able to do the movie part, which is really sad. They said they don't have enough volunteers. Is that correct, Amy?
The manpower, yes.
The manpower, yeah.
And they need help with lifting equipment, so what I'm waiting to see from her the coordinator is offered that we might be able to provide the help.
Yeah, I think,
And
well, anytime we had movie events in the past, the Parks and Rec Committee or the Events Committee, there was always plenty of people here, whether it was myself or John or the rest of the Parks and Rec Committee. If it's just they need a few extra set of hands, we can make that happen.
right, I talked to her today to see if that was really the issue, and she still has to get approval from, I guess, the director or whatever. So it's a matter now of
Just let her know, we'll help load, unload, set up,
So,
power, anything that she needs.
and because she asked if we could, because they owe us a movie night. So I thought she already had May 3rd reserved. But she asked if we could actually do it during the week, and I told her no. So,
If they fall through, would we be able to contract with one of those companies that does it?
I would like to try that as a backup.
I can do that, yes. I have the company names, Amy shared them with me, so.
Maybe also offer, if they're willing or would be open to it, I think we could probably get enough hands to go pick it up and do it ourselves if they'd be willing to loan us the equipment. But I don't know how perceptive they would be to that, given
Would we want to be responsible for that, though?
it's just a blow-up screen and a projector.
By we, you mean Mike?
Michael do it.
Getting
Michael
out
do
of the
it.
truck into the property, I think, is one thing. I think transporting from wherever, I don't know.
I've driven lots of trailers.
Let's see.
No, I'm just saying that.
Well,
So-
I don't want it to come down to a labor issue that we don't need to do
Yes.
We can find a labor.
Two more things before I forget. Cub Scout Pack 99 would like to set up a booth. Would y'all be okay with setting up a booth? Or them setting up a booth and just, they're a nonprofit, so they're not a for-profit. I'm not sure what the procedure is for that.
What would they want to set up a booth for?
To show like the value of Cub Scouting and joining Cub Scouting. And they're out of Weddington, so they are one of our local Cub Scout organizations. In fact, I think about a third actually live in Wesley Chapel already, of the pack total. They're interested in setting up a booth. You know, just they'll have like the Pinewood Derby, like an example of the Pinewood Derby cars that they build and things like is so cool. And then we'll have a lot of little kids here for the Spring Fling event, so I think that would
We've had
be constructive.
vendors and tables like for the SPCA or the
Library.
library and
Yeah.
other things at other events. So
Right.
I don't know what the difference would be.
Yeah, I think I'd be fine with that.
Okay, great.
My only concern would be we've got Pack 46, so that's right.
Sorry,
There.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
They can
And,
come too.
well, that's what I was going to mention, that maybe open it up to both.
Yeah, sure. We've got friends in Pack 46 that will work out for sure. Final is y'all were interested in doing a cookout with council, and we had talked about it in our committee meeting about maybe doing it for the car show. But you know, it's summertime. You don't want to be sweating like that. And Amy was like, "Can we do it on the Spring Fling?" And I think that would really work out. To have a great spring cookout, if y'all are interested in it, and doing it for the Spring Fling date of May 3rd. So just let me know. Just let me know.
Y'all can decide. I will be out of town that day.
I am out of town that day.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to put it out there. Okay, y'all. Just let me know what you decide ultimately.
But if you guys are going to be out of town, it's not really a good idea to have a council cookout if you're not going to be here.
If y'all want to do it then.
Make that three council members out of town.
Probably three
Yeah.
strokes.
I think of all of us, the mayor's probably the most important. To make sure there's a presence and the mayor's not available.
Yeah, but you and I deal with you don't have lives.
I guess.
Okay. So
We can keep trying for the next
Yes, we'll
event.
keep trying. Whenever y'all want to do that, just let us know. Okay.
It's good thinking there.
Yes, ma'am.
It is a great idea to bundle.
Yeah.
In spring.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
For sure.
Thank you, co-chair.
Good
Any
job.
further questions before we move on? from Ms. McCroy.
Very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Did a good job.
All right, so that brings us to the planning board report, and I saw the Honorable Micah Henry come on in.
Well, good evening, all. Happy to see you. First of the year. Very happy that the Village of Wesley Chapel Planning Board actually had a meeting. First of the year. We didn't have a meeting in January, correct?
Right, as I was sick.
Right, we didn't have a meeting in January. We had a meeting in February, and our February meeting dealt about stormwater. And it was about amending the stormwater ordinance for the village and concising it or condensing it into one ordinance. A lot of it was changing words, right? Stormwater administrator, stormwater manager, manual. The big takeaway from that was the 1,000-foot rule, which was when there is new construction building, the water should be contained. If not, it will go further down and try not to interfere with the neighboring properties. That's been the issue here. Another part of it was to come up with a way that would be fair to the person, the developer, the person building the property, that it would be able to give notice to the adjacent landowner, right, and keep them advised of that. We did not really talk about retention of water. It was just the process of amending the stormwater ordinance into one concise thing. It was all over the place, to say, lack of a better word. But the takeaway is the 1,000 feet, right? So they're going to try to disperse the water over 1,000 feet, so it's not all concentrated in one area. Obviously, there is rules in place already that you can't stop it, right? You can't stop it. And that was pretty much about it. That was the whole topic of it, was the discussion of that. And we kept 1,000 feet, and that was about it. That was a big takeaway on that one, right? Did I miss anything, John? No. So that was that part there. And then we had a side talk about Billy Henley Road.
And you'll be in attendance tomorrow night?
I would like to be. I saw that one and the one that they proposed for Wesley Chapel, Rogers Road. That's different.
But the virtual public meeting for Billy Howard's tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, it's on. I know. I got that one. So that's pretty much about it there.
That won't be here.
So
Any
what's,
questions from Mr. Terry?
so what's next on the stormwater ordinance?
Well, we brought back.
Right, we're gonna, Vol and I are gonna work on it some more based on the comments, and then bring it back to planning board this month. In March.
And then we'll go through and then bring it to you for approval or adjustment. That's a big thing. I don't think there's any subdivisions that were in the plan at the moment that we talked about. And we briefly talked about the roundabout. Hopefully that will go through. I heard there was a change to that.
Huh?
Okay, so there may be with a road going in, right out. That's why they were talking about getting the state was trying to get another piece of land on that side of the road. That would be the McCoy Farm side of the road, and having an entrance from that into the roundabout. But
Oh, they haven't told us that.
so hopefully we'll go and hopefully we'll start after June. They cleared the trees. You can see all the markings there. I noticed the traffic light still is not working down at Shamwood.
That is supposed to be rectified. I'll tell you what they said. They said,
That was on the end of
How
April.
do you put in a traffic light and not plan for power?
so this says, per DOT, they're working with Duke Power to get a power drop to the signal cabinet for this intersection. There's limited right-of-way in this area, so they are working on a solution to joint use an existing pole. They're hopeful to work it out this month and have the signal operational in April.
I think that's going to make figuring out a roundabout right there real easy. They can't even put in a light.
Well, if you go up, I call it Wesley Chapel Road, you can see where the DOT put the pins in the road on the sides, the two fields for the next part of, hopefully a roundabout would go there when they surveyed it out. I stop and talk to them when I see them, and I think when you're looking down on Potter Road, that's the issue there. When you're coming to the intersection on Potter Road, where they cleared more on the other side of that would be Mr. Davis's property.
They cleared sign, so if you're coming from Potter to Wesley Chapel South, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
And so if you're coming in that way, Mr. Davis is on the right.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is some cleared in there, but there's ribbons all up, and there's some trees with white ribbons. I'm guessing might mean they're being cut. But there's ribbons all up through there, but it doesn't look like it's encroaching anymore.
Yeah.
Because what we understood was their septic was part of the problem. That's why it pushed it into McCoy's land.
They were trying to acquire some sort of
McCoy
land there so they could move it and not have it interfere. I would hope that it goes off in June like it was scheduled to be. So we'll see.
Do you know what the different? I'm so sorry. Do you know what the different ribbons mean on the trees?
Usually, is it white on the trees? Is they're trying to save them?
Yeah, I mean it's not like utilities where there's certain colors that mean certain things. But yes, normally those are
because it's only 3 trees on that side of the road with ribbons on it. If that's the case, if they're the only ones they're saving, they're going to take out a lot of crap.
I'm just saying it's not a standard thing, but that's kind of been what's
yeah, because I know like Dillon's Gas.
Council, how much of this are we going to be rehashing on item number 12C?
Okay. I'll go up with them.
No, we're not. We're going to hash it now.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
We're good.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. So that will be going back to planning board at the end of March, and we should hopefully see it in April. Okay. Then I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Hines for the planning department update.
There is no update on the stormwater study for the county. The encroachment on, the Mayflower Trail encroachment study. I talked to the engineers today. They have completed their field study, their field survey. Their next steps are they're going to incorporate the data they got from that into the FEMA models, and then work on performing the hydraulic analysis to hopefully be able to achieve to get a no-rise certificate for it, and then after that coordinate with the state emergency management for possible review of the updated model. So, like I said, they've gone out there, they've got all the data, and now they're going to put the data into the hopefully be able to get a no-rise certificate. Questions?
Fingers crossed.
The next item on the agenda is NCDOT's declaration to enact speed limits on Underwood Road. We received the certification for municipal declaration to enact speed limits and request for concurrence. We just got it in the mail. So I emailed I talked to the assistant division traffic engineer for the county, and he said that this originally started from a residence request from Wesley Chapel to evaluate the road, and he went out there, did his field investigation, and determined that lowering the speed limit from 45 to 35 made a lot of sense to him because of reduction of sight distance, the narrow lane widths, and the horizontal curves. It has been reviewed by the regional traffic engineer, and she's given approval for this. He felt like it was a win-win because if there's any kind of more development out there or anything like that, then it probably would need to be reduced. Like I said, he's looking at his field investigation, he is recommending it be reduced to 35 miles per hour.
Is there actually a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit sign on that road?
There's
I don't
not.
remember seeing it.
There's not.
Okay, I didn't think so.
No, there's not.
Which means it's just whatever you want to do, right?
I didn't know what the speed limit was until he said, oh, it's 45 miles per hour. Because like you said, there's
Yeah.
no sign.
Because you're coming off a 45-mile-an-hour road, so
So,
generally it stays the same.
yeah.
And in some cases, if it's rain or dark, that's pretty fast
Mhm.
on that road.
On that road, absolutely. So, you know, based on their recommendation, but because it's in the village, that's why the village has to approve.
It'd be nice if they would tell us these things are going on.
Are they going to put 35-mile-an-hour signs up there if they change it? Okay.
If you change the speed limit, don't you have to change it, have the sign posted that the speed limit's changed? Like if you're on a 45-mile-an-hour road and you go to a road that's not 35, you have to put a sign up, right?
Yeah, because right now there's no sign.
Yeah, because it should be the same speed limit.
You're right.
And that's something that we have to make a motion for?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Because the certification requires that it be in minutes, because the clerk has to sign it saying that the village is approving it.
So we need a motion to adopt the to approve the certification of the municipal declaration to enact speed limits for concurrence for Underwood Road to 35 miles per hour.
So motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Nobody asked about Potter. Nobody asked about 84 again. They've studied it twice. It's not going down.
Can we take a vote before we do that?
All in favor? Unanimous.
Why not?
All right, Emily?
The next item on the agenda is for a traffic, we're requesting that council authorize the mayor to be able to negotiate with two transportation engineering firms for traffic impact analysis reviews. It would be done like our engineering, where the developer would pay the cost of any kind of contract that the engineering firm charges. And this is because right now we don't have a traffic engineering firm to review anything, and our ordinance states that whenever, if anyone is required to do a TIA, traffic impact analysis, that it is reviewed by the planner and a transportation engineer.
And we might have a need for one coming up, even though we
Yes.
haven't had a need for one in a very long time.
So we
And
just,
that's actually what made us realize we needed one.
we just make a motion that the mayor is able to do this?
Yes, and in your
Give her
packet-
permission.
Yeah, in your package you have two firms, and the reason why we said we wanted to have two different firms is that way it allows for the developer to choose whichever engineering firm, traffic engineering firm they want to hire. And then if that one happens to be one of the ones we have on contract, we could use the other engineering firm as our transportation engineer for that analysis.
So are these preferred contractors that we would just pass along to developers to contact, or are these parties that are on retainage through the village?
Yes.
So we're going to be paying these companies that right now we're not paying at all. We're relying on the developers or whoever else needs the traffic study done. We're relying on them to cover that cost.
Well, so if you're a developer and you need to do a traffic impact analysis, you hire somebody to do your TIA. Well, so when they submit that, the village reviews it, the planner reviews it, and the village's transportation engineer. So we need to hire somebody. We need to hire a transportation engineering firm to be on retainer to be able to review those. Just like how we have our other engineers on retainer. So the developer would pay whatever the fee is for the village's transportation engineer to review the other engineer and other firms' TIA.
It's
Just
a
like we do
professional
with
to
our-
watch out for the village.
Yes, just like we do for our, like just how we do it with our other engineers. Like, somebody hires an engineering firm to draw plans. Well, we have a village engineer to review those plans to make sure they meet everything. So it's the same thing. This is just transportation instead of.
And then we pass the cost back to them, and they
Yes.
have to pay it. So from Bond, he says this is what's always been done in Wesley Chapel and is a fairly commonplace practice in small communities. They have to pay the bill before we'll advertise for the council hearing or before the preliminary plat is signed, depending on what they're doing. We don't have to require them to pay the fee, but it's not uncommon. We just haven't required one of these in a long time. We haven't had to review a TIA scope and results.
Because we used to have someone on retainer, but they went to work for the city of Charlotte.
Who was that?
He said a guy at STV. I don't know the person's name. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So, Emily, this engineering firm, you said they would review any study that's done. So when we did the Five Stones work, one of the things that came up was they had a TIA study that we spent way too many hours listening to. And some of our comments or concerns at the time was like, we didn't necessarily agree with the parameters of the study.
Mm-hmm.
Like it left out a subdivision that we're like, why would you not count that kind of thing? So would this firm also be involved in setting the parameters for a study before it's done, or just review a study after it's done?
Reviewing
So
a submitted traffic impact analysis.
So how do we make sure that we're all okay with the parameters of any study before it gets to that review point?
Well,
Because the study, the review of the study, is that the results of the study, or the planning to conduct the study?
it would be reviewing the study.
The results.
The results.
So when they come back and say do it 9 to 5 or whatever, so
And they would come back, so that it's like how it is now. So it's like traffic engineer. This one, the one that's for the village, is looking at the other engineer's study and saying, this is great, or I've got comments, or.
right. But before we get to that point of setting the parameters, how do we make sure, especially if one's potentially coming up, to make sure that council has some idea of what's being studied? We're not just doing a sign off that somebody arbitrarily drew a line here and here to think about it. And again, I'm thinking back to the Five Stone situation. If y'all remember. I mean, it really irritated me because how much time we spent and how many complaints we heard about how do you do a study that basically disregards an entire subdivision. And it's like,
Well, I mean, I
that
guess
wasn't
that
our
would be
intersection.
one
That
of
was a major intersection, and I don't want to go through that again.
I mean, I guess that would be one of the if the other engineer's saying you didn't do a good enough study.
But it seems like that should be agreed to before they do the study. Because my understanding, I thought Mom said the village signed off on the parameters before the study was conducted.
Yeah, there's something in.
I mean, there may be some I just off the top of my head.
So we would like to put a note in here to how do we review the parameters for our TIA
For
in
any
the
TIA
future?
studies before they're conducted.
Because we might want to make some changes.
Mm-hmm. And if I hear again, retired people do not drive at 8 a.m., I might ready to slap somebody.
And what are the like government or state county regulations on any of that? You don't have to tell us now. That's what we would like to know for the future.
Yeah. My question wasn't a pop quiz for me. It was really about that. Because I was like, if this engineering group is going to do that preliminary work and they say, here's the parameters of the study, okay, fine. We tell them these are our requirements and then they take care of it. But if it's just reviewing it after the fact, that's too late. So you want a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Make a motion that council approve the mayor soliciting and creating contracts with on-call providers for TIA for TIA study.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Just keep us up to date. It's the only thing I would ask. I mean, if you have any problems getting pushed back, don't
Well,
keep it secret.
Vaughn, he's pretty much worked it out with us too, and he thinks they're really qualified and have plenty of experience. So
I'm happy with that.
So, you look like you want to say something.
No, I'm just not sure that. I'm not sure of the need right now, especially to spend more funds, which I understand that that the applicant is going to fund the pass-through contracts. I understand that, but I don't have enough information to vote for this right now. So, I mean, feel free to call for the vote. I just don't have enough information to vote for it.
What more information would make you feel comfortable?
Humor me, okay?
That's why I'm asking.
I'm a developer. I own 1,000 acres of land. I want to put in a community in Wesley Chapel. I'm going to go out and hire my own traffic study engineer. And from what I'm understanding, the village is going to have a traffic study engineer that will take everything that my engineer writes and checks that. Okay. Are any of these traffic studies going to be superseded by DOT's traffic analysis?
Aren't they the same?
That's a good question.
I assumed, that's not a good thing, right? I assumed they'd be the same one. So if you had like a new development going in that was big enough to require a TIA, that is a TIA that then suffices for any of DOT needs or anything else, that there's not multiple ones of them.
Right. There were
It's just like one, right?
TIA, yes. It's just that, it's just like, stormwater, stuff like that, like, we're, as planners, we're not qualified, we're not transportation engineers. So that's why it's necessary to hire people with different disciplines.
And in the case of Five Stones, I think when they were doing the scope for the parameters of that, the county was involved, DOT, and Wesley Chapel. And I think whoever was our engineer at the time agreed to the parameters of that study.
And so, to humor David, as a developer, yes, I'm giving you another hoop to jump through, but that hoop is to protect all the other residents of this village, where you probably are a resident, Mr. Developer, and to ensure that, all of our understanding of all of our needs and everything, because your immediate need is like this particular plot and parcel to develop. This person's supposed to be looking for the greater good for the village. And so that's kind of how I see it. And also I would hope that having that person involved and reviewing it, much like the other engineering studies that are done, when it comes to council to review something, we aren't going through it and having to learn about doing TIAs like we had to do with Five Stones.
I agree completely, Lori, as long as DOT is not going to say
Do another. Exactly.
we're going to do our own, and we're going to either approve or disapprove this based upon DOT's TIA.
So who supersedes who as far as who should we be listening to if they're conflicted? I think it's a valid point. I really do.
I was like Lori said, I was thinking they were one and the same. That DOT is involved in the TIA setting.
And that is normally the way it is.
It was that way for Five Stones.
And as you get into this process of looking at the quotes and all, if you find out that that's different, then you don't do anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that was my second question, Lori. We're given the mayor authority to negotiate the agreements, but are we also giving her the authority to execute those agreements?
What's the difference?
Yeah.
Negotiating is me getting a price.
Yeah.
Executing is signing and saying, I'll pay that price.
Because I didn't see cost or anything in here.
But I mean,
What was
we
your-
could set some parameters ourselves for what guidelines and stuff, but
Again, my opinion only. There are too many questions at this point for me to be able to vote for this.
is there a timeline on this?
The development is coming up.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna come up soon. We can,
Okay.
Is there a name to this mystery
Is
development?
it Aurora?
oh, no, what brought this up was that Aston was looking at another piece of property. And because it's gonna be a conditional zone, it's required to have a TIA.
Say that one more time.
Aston is looking at
Aston.
is looking at another piece of property. And because they're doing it as a conditional zoning, they are required to do a TIA based on the traffic count that they're going to have.
So you're estimating like 30, 60, 90 days for
Well,
this?
they haven't submitted anything yet, but
So,
when that came up, when we were discussing it, I realized, oh no, we don't have a traffic engineer.
I
And
was-
we're going to require them to do a TIA.
My thinking was that Bond had given us the qualifications for these two places that do these all the time, and that we would enter into an on-call agreement, just like we have with our stormwater with Labella, and we don't pay anything until we're actually doing the TIA, and then we pass the cost to the developer. So it's not anything that Wesley Chapel is ever paying.
but kind of to David's point, the village is still approving a contract. And I think typically, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, that even like with the engineering contracts, we have reviewed them and approved them. Not that we were the body negotiating them.
But we can,
So this seems kind of like it should be the same thing. We're giving you the authority to negotiate it.
and bring you back.
And then it
the-
has to be approved because I would imagine it's going to cross the
Yes,
dollar
That's
threshold.
all that was going through staff was
Mm.
to
Let her
allow
get
the mayor
started.
to negotiate with the two firms.
And then we can bring it back in April, hopefully with the information you want to know about DOT, and Emily can help us find how we can revise, if necessary, the parameters for the Wesley Chapel.
For a new TIA.
Because I don't know if those are state mandated or not.
No, because what Vaughn told us at Five Stones, because it stuck with me, because it irritated me so much, was that we did have a say in where that study would be reviewed and conducted. And we missed a subdivision of ours that has residents in it.
I think we was being our previous.
It doesn't matter. It stuck with me, and I'm kind of like, the council never had anything, because I am sure that any one of the five of us would have said, you're going to put all that extra traffic right by here, by these people? I'm just saying.
Well, we definitely said it was something we wanted to revisit.
And as a result, they finally got acknowledged that they need access in and out of the roads. It's getting taken care of now, but it did stick with me.
Or will be in 3 to 5 years. All right, so we have a motion and a second for me to negotiate the contracts, work with Emily to figure out how exactly the TIA parameters and scope is set, and
I just want to let you know, I'm texting Paul, I'm not like,
Wow.
yeah.
and then it will hopefully come back to you in April.
Potentially on the consent agenda.
That would be nice. That
So
would be nice.
we're still in the middle of a motion, we're not
We
going to
haven't
just
voted
get
yet.
the
Yeah.
definition.
Yeah.
Okay.
The motion was for me to enter into negotiate the agreement.
Okay.
So, any further comments?
Negotiating, not executing.
Right.
As long as that's a clarification, and David, you're happy with that? Okay.
All right. So there's any further discussion? All in favor? Okay.
And David, thank you for bringing that issue to the clarity of the issue.
And also, just for future reference, I think it's a really good comment that when council is asked of something, of a potential motion, to really just make it clear to us, you're asking us to grant her approval for negotiation and or approval or signature authorization, whatever, just so that when we make the motions, we make them correctly. And be able to ask those questions before we even get to the motion point.
I have an answer.
Oh, already? Okay.
Paul said, I said, who sets the parameters for a TIA? He said, mostly DOT, since they're all their roads, but we get to give input.
per each project. So like when this new property, when a potential conditional rezoning comes up, we would get to have some input.
I can imagine while sitting there going,
Right, like there
"It's
came to
gonna be
mind.
coming here."
Well, while he's doing that, I'm gonna, he said, yes, it's going to be different on each one, and that's where the scoping meetings come in.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I figured DOT said
Scoping
somewhere.
was the word I want using.
Okay, so to be continued until April when we bring more information up to you. All right, Emily, the next one is the critical intersection.
Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. on Zoom, there is a meeting for the Union County Critical Intersection Program, specifically for the Waxhaw Indian Trail, excuse me, Waxhaw Indian Trail Road, Billy Howie intersection. The critical intersection program is a combination, is a joint between the county, NCDOT, CRTPO, and municipalities to partner on developing and designing cost estimates for certain intersections around the county. There's 6 intersections. Like I said, the one in Wesley Chapel is the Waxhaw Indian Trail, Billy Howie intersection. Tomorrow night is the public meeting for us to be able to get any kind of information. We're soliciting information for the public and the other stakeholders. Vaughn was the contact, and he said he has gotten no emails or phone calls or anything from anybody. So we'll be on the call tomorrow night. If anybody has any questions, if you go to, there's a website on Union County's webpage. It's the Union County Critical Intersection Program website, and you can specifically see information about the different ones. The one for here has 2 alternates. One is to realign Billy Howie and also put in a traffic signal. And there's the second alternate is to just put in a traffic signal. There's information about the costs and comparing them based on traffic performance, multimodal performance, right-of-way utilities, everything. You can go through all that. You can provide feedback on here, or like I said, we've got the public meeting tomorrow night for any kind of feedback.
And the fire department has given their feedback.
My big question that I can't in my simple little mind understand, based on my experience, and granted I'm on the other side of the village, is that when I'm going that way, I don't see the majority of cars turning off from Billy Howie. And so I just think about, okay, now we're going to make that more primary route. What happens when they get to Newtown? That just seems like we're going to move the bottleneck, not solve the problem. So that's my only thing I didn't understand.
You going to log on and ask that question?
I might.
You can log in tomorrow night, or Bob will be there.
Or I can email them.
Yeah.
Or like I said, you can go online. You can email Vaughn, you can go on to the website. There's a place to be able to provide feedback on that also.
I don't disagree that it can be a rough intersection, but it just sounds like we want to make that the main, we want to turn Billy Howie into the main road by my understanding of the description. So I definitely need to understand that more, because I don't see how that's going to work. Because we put in a nice roundabout like Indian Trail in Newtown for that traffic. And that would beg the question of, was that really necessary? Was there really a problem at Billy Howie? Did we miss it?
Don't worry. There's a great 4-way stop right there, so.
It's a nightmare. I mean, I'm kind of, if you want to fix one, I'd fix Newtown first, but that's just me.
So log in tomorrow night for all the fun from 6 to 8.
Will this be recorded, or will we have access to any of the comments that come out of this meeting?
I'm sure Vaughn will have some stuff. He can probably give us a synopsis.
Because this is just to solicit the information, and then we'll have, the next steps are, in April, we'll be evaluating the information that's provided, and then selecting a preferred alternative. May, finalize design concepts and present it to y'all, and then in June, finalize the report.
And then we still got to find the money for it.
Oh yeah, this is just a design.
I mean, we gave them what, $3,000?
Well, I was for the
It's a little more than that.
Yeah, I think it was 4,000. Okay. And then that leads us to the P&G easement update. Currently, Emily and Vaughn and I met with Aston last week to see if they had any concerns with us moving forward with the P&G easement. And they are in the process of doing an overlay onto the P&G easement to see if they have any concerns that would happen during their construction period. We haven't seen that yet. We also only got one bid back for potential tree replacement, and it was $18,820. So we're going to have to share that with P&G also, because that figure would need to be put into our easement agreement for our remediation of the trees that will be removed on our property. So that's still a TBD. It has not been finalized because we're waiting on those two items. So, any questions about that?
Not about that. I have a couple of questions for Emily.
Okay.
So, Centralia trees, you know, on Wax Indian Trail, the tree company was not supposed to be there. Last couple of weeks, I've noticed it looks like more timber or cut wood, and last week there was a couple of work trucks there. Like it might be starting to pile up again or something. I did not get a chance to go by there today, but check before I asked that. But I wasn't sure. I mean, I hope they understand just because we quit asking questions doesn't mean they could revert to doing that. But it did look like a little, like more than had been there. Maybe some of it was just temporary and in transit, I don't know, but it did seem like that the last couple of weeks. And then the other one was last month I asked about if we could verify the median that's going to go in on Wesley Chapel Stouts.
Yeah,
on the
I
Coy
measured
Farms.
it, and it's not.
It's not going to interfere with any existing driveways? Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all.
Is the- I was going to clarify, there's one just north. The one that was close, there was one that was just north of where the median was going to go, but it was going to, their driveway clears past where that median is. So,
There's one driveway, it's not perpendicular to the road. It veers south.
right, but it was.
And so that median is going to be south of their driveway.
Yes.
That's the one I was worried about.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Any more questions for Emily? All right. Commercial Center Development Update. We're reviewing the P&G easement agreement. We have a closed session later. Emily, do you have anything else to add?
No, we're
Widening update.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Because the commercial center is owned by Aston, and because we have heard rumors of other properties being purchased by Aston, can we ask about that, or is that all too preliminary to?
And the only thing that I know is the one I was just talking about, with the rezoning that they had come in and talked about, is the property that is on the other side of McDonald's.
The triangle.
They're looking at that.
What's it zoned now? R40?
It's zoned residential right now.
But it was on the
But-
future land use plan
Yeah.
as commercial.
Okay.
That's the only one that I know of that they're
Okay.
looking at, 'cause that's the one they come in and ask me about.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And that would definitely trigger a significant TIA. All right. Any further questions about the commercial center? Widening update, I have no updates. Do you, Emily? Roundabout, the NCDOT projects, I had not heard anything about purchasing other land for Wesley Chapel and Potter. I'm hoping they're still breaking ground in June. We haven't heard anything else about the Highway 84 improvements. Jim shared about the temporary lane at Newtown and Cuthbertson. And that's about all. There's not a lot of updates to share. This is just keeping it on our radar of these are projects we have out there and that we want to keep our eyes on.
Is the Cuthbertson roundabout, did Bond say 2028? Did I hear say that one meeting?
That sounds about right. Thanks.
Is that what he said, 2028?
I believe that sounds about right. Yes.
I couldn't remember.
So unless there are any further questions about that, we would go to mayor and council comment. Oh, you have a question?
Just one comment to that is if you go on the CRTPO site or the NCDOT site, you can get to where you can look at the whatever the STIP is for the current year, because they're working on the next one now. And you can go into that and you can see, that's essentially a spreadsheet, that you can see all of the projects and it's got dates and everything else on it.
So that's the project that I'd be looking at, HL0125.
I think that should be the number.
That's
But
what I'm looking
but
for.
the list is actually, you could follow the list because it's like Union County, Wesley Chapel, yeah. But yeah. And
Yeah,
it's-
if you go there, you can CRTPO.
Yeah, it's,
or NCDOT to get to the STI.
yes.
Okay. Anything else? All right, mayor and council comments. Who wants to go first? Don't worry about everything else.
I'm ready.
No comments.
Okay, I'll say no too. All right. So then on to the motion to go into closed session that we will be to do unless you want to stay around for after.
Motion to go into closed session.
If you ever watch
Is that in favor?